Roots of the Science podcast with your girl, Anne with an E.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Root of the Science podcast with your girl, Anne with an E. My, it is so good to say that. Yes, we've been away, but we are back. I have missed doing this, and I'm so glad that you've been patient while we create new content. So, as a reminder, if you are a frequent listener, you already know that you can subscribe to the show on Apple Podcast or Spotify, and then you can get notified when your new podcast episode comes on. Also, if you're new here, welcome. I am so excited to have you. I always get so excited when we have new listeners. Make sure that you follow the podcast on basically all social media platforms. We are on Twitter and Instagram at The Root of the Sci Pod, on Facebook and LinkedIn at The Root of the Science Podcast. Also, we are on TikTok. We're getting there. There's an account. Also, follow the show on website. So we are everywhere. Most importantly, please make sure that you support the show. Being an independent podcaster, it really goes a long way having people support the show into creating new content. But let's get into why you are here and why you've tuned into this episode. My guest today is Dr. Khumbuzile Bophela from South Africa. Currently, she's a plant pathology lecturer. In this episode, we learn about her academic journey and the ups and downs of it. We also talk about her current research that she's involved in for her postdoc fellowship. And also, she touches on how her academic journey actually has impacted the type of academic that she hopes to be and currently is with her own supervising students. We talk about all of this and, of course, so much more. So take a listen. Let's go. Hi, Khumbuzile. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Anne. Thank you for having me. It has been one of my, secret things to be invited to the podcast. So thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm so glad. I don't realize how much people want to be on until they're on, and they're like, I've been wanting. And I keep saying, guys, tell me you want to be on the show.
Like our secret advice, we hope you would say, hey, do you want to come into my podcast? We throw him in there.
Hey. Okay, no, I'm so glad that you're finally here and we finally get to have the conversations amongst all of the disruptions that have been going on in the background. So for the purpose of our guests, please just give us a brief introduction. Who is Khumbuzile? Where are you currently based? And just briefly, what do you do?
I was born in Kamashu in KwaZulu-Natal, which is close to Durban. Yeah, and I am based in Pretoria. For the longest time, my home was in Johannesburg. So yeah, I am a lecturer at the University of Pretoria. To be specific, I'm a plant pathology lecturer at the University of Pretoria.
Okay, fantastic. We're going to get all into everything that you do. But before we do that, I was secretly stalking you just before this interview. You know, the perks of having you guys on my WhatsApp, and you were sharing pictures.
Wow.
Yes, I'm going to put you on the spot, so just give me a second. But you were just sharing about how you've recently come back from an international conference. You know, I'm sure this is the first post-pandemic, right? So could you just give us how was that? Where did you go? I just want you to tell me the fun parts of it, not the work side, the pleasure side. How was the pleasure side of your conference?
I mean, the work side was also pleasurable, so am I not allowed to say that?
Sorry. Okay, let's just say, how was your conference?
I was fortunate to be given the opportunity to present at an international conference post-pandemic. I presented a part of my the work that I did in my PhD. So it was really wonderful. I don't want to lie. Like it felt surreal to land in Rome, Italy. Like I just couldn't believe it was me. I had to pinch myself. So I pinched myself multiple times. And, I landed in Rome, but the conference was held in Assisi, which is roughly 4 hours with a slow train, which I took. But the fast train is like 2.5 hours you're there. So I had to take a train in a foreign land, my God, and I'm traveling alone. So the anxiety on that day when I arrived, my goodness. But otherwise, the trip was, it was, an experience getting to experience the Italian culture, the food, the scenery. I mean, the scenery almost reminded me of the Western Cape, the picturesque mountains, greenery, all those fascinating things. So we went on a tour to Gubbio, which is also like an hour and a half away from where the conference was. And there we were immersed into the culture. Like we toured the different museums, the different cathedrals. We saw, the one thing that freaked me out is that these people actually have, the saint is called Saint Ubaldo, and his mummy, like corpse, mummified, is inside a museum, like a cathedral museum where saints would gather there. And also, what do they call them? I think they call them ushers or something. They would gather there. So he is in there, at the center of the altar. That freaked me out because you can see the money. He's inside a glass casket. I was like, I'm hoping that that's not like an active church, because I don't know how I would feel to go to church as we are like at the altar. There's a mummy there. I'm like, oh my gosh, okay. So that was the side that was weird for me. But otherwise, the place is beautiful. The people. Some of them were not so kind, but the others were welcoming and, giving us a taste of Italy. The food, so I'm very picky with what I eat. So some of the things I enjoyed, like the pizza, yes, they make the best. They make the best pizza, like don't get it twisted. Best pizza, it depends on your topping, whichever topping you fancy. The gelato, oh my gosh, amazing. Gelato, like it's almost ice cream, but like not really. Really tasted good. Pasta, I guess the one that I had, I did not particularly like, but it's still good. And then the rest of the things I do not understand. Like I was struggling. Like, oh my goodness, what is this? What are you guys making us eat? Yeah, but I counted the number of courses. We have like the 3-course meal, right? They have more. Like, I counted on that day. I counted. I think we had a 7, if not 8-course meal. And the thing about them is that they would have a starter, and then there's the main dish, and then afterwards you're given a salad. Whereas we would have the salad as a starter. For them, it's the other way around. And then at the end, obviously, there's dessert, but then also followed by coffee. And they make the best coffee. Like,
I need to go to Italy.
Yes, and I was so. I don't know why I didn't plan this properly, but I guess rand, the currency you choose which the currency chooses our destination. I would have loved to stay longer, like maybe a few more days to actually see Rome, because I saw Gubbio, Assisi, and Perugia. Rome, Rome we see in the movie. So this is where you want to go, it's where you want to be. Rome, Venice, and Florence. Yeah, those are the places that I would like to go back and visit.
Wow.
Yeah. But it was wonderful. Yeah, I enjoyed it. And the work part of it.
Yes, of course. And we're going to get there. I promise we're going to get there. I promise we're going to get there. It's just so amazing how, and I think this is one of the key selling points about doing a postgrad degree, right? Where You get to travel the world in all of these amazing countries for conferences. And I remember I had one colleague who always used to say, the best part, that was one of the things that convinced me to do a PhD personally. Not the work aspect, but like just like the other side of where she said, you get to travel for free on somebody else's money.
Yes, exactly.
Like you get to travel on somebody else's money. And I was like, what? I want to do a postgrad degree. And then,
I should say this with the work that I do. And, I love my work and the experiences that I've had with embarking on this journey. Like I've taught South Africa, most parts of South Africa because of the work that I do.
Wow.
I've visited the US because of the work that I do. So there's a saying that says, your gifts will open doors for you. Yeah. Or your calling will open doors for you. I think it's a spiritual saying. Yeah. So that has been my testimony.
Oh man, that's amazing. Yeah. From KwaMashu to the world.
Well, listen,
And speaking of KwaMashu, I want us to now backtrack, right? Before you became this jet setter flying around, you mentioned that you were born in KwaMashu. So let's get the genesis of your story. Did you always know? Did you always know that this is what you want to do? Getting into the sciences, even specifically plant pathology, was something that you wanted to do, or was it a matter of circumstances? And then here you are, inverted commas, living your best life as a scientist now.
Oddly enough, actually, I wanted to be a chef, right, when I was young. And I think in my mid-teens, I know. For the longest time, I actually said to my mom, I want to be a chef, And then somewhere in my teen years, I wanted to become a restaurateur, and then it was an accountant. And then eventually we landed in a STEM-related field. But I think with agriculture, all these things that I wanted to be are married together. They've come together along nicely. I work with food. Agriculture is the process of, making food and growing crops. And what do we do with crops? Besides selling them, we also, eat them, consume them. So it worked in my favor. The accounting bit, as an academic or a lecturer at the university, we deal with grants. So this, I suppose, I'm putting some of these skills into practice.
Yeah. I love how you are like, listen, and all of my ideas eventually culminated to where I am. Okay. Here.
Exactly. But I should also mention that I love biology, and I think it's called life sciences now in school.
Yes.
So that was also one of the influences. Loving biology and being obsessed with science fiction series. So as kids, we would watch The X-Files, and I guess this reveals my age. We would watch The X-Files, and they dealt with a lot of extraterrestrial stuff. So we would really look forward to the Friday evening. So it would freak me out sometimes. But I believe that this is how I naturally gravitated to.
Wow, that's beautiful. So, given all of these influences at the back, I want to know, I'm speaking from experience because we are in similar but different fields, because we're both in agriculture, but obviously different specializations. I only found out, I think, in second year what plant pathology was. So for you, when you started your degree, what degree did you do? A BSc Agric, and then you specialized, or did you always know that you're doing you went in knowing that I'm going to do plant pathology? So take us through on that academic journey.
My academic journey. Okay, so I pursued degrees in microbiology until I graduated with my PhD last year.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
But from honors, I started specializing in plant protection or plant health, rather. So although my degrees are in microbiology, I am a trained plant pathologist. So I was exposed to this in my postgraduate journey.
Okay. No, I see the marriage. I see the marriage.
Yeah.
How that happened. Also, you did a BSc in microbiology, and then in that you. Oh, interesting. So I hope somebody listening who's doing a microbiology degree, you can deviate into doing other things as well. Oh wow, okay.
I think the opportunities are endless when you do a postgraduate study. Like if you embark on a postgraduate journey, the opportunities post your degree are endless, because you can, like me being in microbiologist, I ended up in plant pathology, but I know that there are some people who do some computational work where they just did maybe genetics, BSc degree in genetics, and then they specialize in computational aspects in the postgraduate. So the opportunities are there.
Definitely.
You don't have to stick to what you stick to what you did, what you studied.
I think the most important part are the skills, and then you apply those skills into your field, right? Yeah.
Yes,
okay. So speaking of plant pathology, you are currently a lecturer at the University of Pretoria in plant pathology. Before I ask you, first I'm going to ask you, was this always part of the plan? That's question number one. And number two, how has the teaching experience been for you? Now being on the other side.
So regarding your first question, I started having an inclination for academia towards the end of my master's. I mean, I loved working with undergraduate students in the lab. I mentored quite a few of them. So for me, the greatest feeling, and to this day, is to see a student being able to accomplish something independently that they once found challenging. And I suppose that, that's the thing that drew me towards academia. And being raised by a teacher also has its influence. My mom is a retired teacher. Yeah, so she taught the foundation.
Get it.
She taught the foundation phase, and absolutely enjoyed it. So I think that being raised by a teacher and seeing her love what she does, I suppose it's also somehow that influenced the trajectory of my own career. And the other thing that I love about academia is that I also get to pursue science in the research that I do. It sparks my curiosity, and so academia for me was the right kind of environment, because I get to marry all those things that I'm passionate about, which is teaching, research, mentoring, as well as community engagement. And
wow, that's amazing. That's amazing.
And getting to your second question about how the teaching experience has been, I've had opportunities while I was still doing my postgraduate studies to tutor undergraduate courses, as well as to present like guest lectures. My final year PhD, I guest lectured. And from that experience, I could feel the energy, when I'm in class and teaching, the energy that I got from interacting with the students. I loved it, and I still do. I love engaging with the students. They, sparking their curiosity, their enthusiasm. I don't know whether it's me or other lecturers also experience the same, but students have always been reciprocating class. So that exchange and getting to hear what they think about a concept that we're discussing, it energizes me. I've been enjoying it so far. It's yes, it has its challenges, the admin side of it, but the teaching side of it.
Yeah.
It's enjoyable. Once the admin has been sorted, the lecturing bit of it is enjoyable.
And I mean, like what you said, that maybe some other lecturers get it. I get it. I also get it. I love teaching undergraduates. There's just that level of curiosity and naivety, which just makes it really exciting. Where it's like, where you haven't been boggled down by the system yet, but you're really curious. I mean, and it's only probably like 3 students or something out of like a class of, I don't know, 50 or whatever. But those ones who are passionate and who are asking you questions, there's just something beautiful about that. And I get it. And I get, and like you said, that because you've always loved the idea of mentoring and you were teaching and you did it beforehand, that it's, you know, an obvious choice for you to be where you are right now. And now from the teaching, now we on the other aspect that you love, research, right? So your current research focuses on the potential contamination sources of Phytophthora species in South African citrus nurseries. Can you tell us a bit about this work and why is it so important?
Okay, so I started working on this project, which is funded by the Citrus Research International Organization in my postdoctoral fellowship last year with Professor Jesse van der Waals. So we've continued with our collaboration even though I'm appointed. So what this work entails is us visiting citrus nurseries in South Africa, collecting different types of samples from areas that we think that the organism might be present. So these samples include things like potting media, which is the material that the nurseries use to plant the citrus seeds. And for the benefit of those who don't know what citrus is, I'm assuming now people know what citrus is, but I'll give examples anyway. So examples of citrus are your...
Yes, please. Actually.
So yes, examples of citrus are oranges, lemon, lime, grapes, your narki. Some people call it soft citrus, to name just a few. So those are examples of citrus. So we collect these samples, and it also includes soil samples, which are collected from outside of the greenhouses where the citrus seedlings are kept, as well as soil that is found along the walkway inside of the greenhouses where the nursery workers would typically stand. We also collect water. We also collect water samples, and this is the water that they use to irrigate, so water the citrus seedlings. And we take these samples back into the lab, the techniques that we use to isolate the organisms from these samples. So basically what we're doing is we're trying to detect the presence of the organism with different types of samples.
So the organism is the organism this Phytophthora that we're speaking of?
Yes, it's Phytophthora. So the thing about the citrus industry, highly regulated. So as you know, if you want to be certified by the Citrus Research International, would have to undergo evaluation, and part of the evaluation is sending in these samples that I spoke about for them to detect whether or not this organism is present, because it does cause diseases once the seedlings have been planted out into citrus orchards. So trying to prevent that from occurring in the citrus orchard. And being I think we're one of the largest producers of citrus and also export our citrus to the EU market. So we have to make sure that whatever that we, send abroad and the environment in which these seedlings are grown do not have this organism present, because it does cause devastation once it reaches the field. So so basically that's the project, is to look at sources that might that might harbor this organism. And then we convey that information to the organization which funds the research, and they do with it what they will. I don't know what happens thereafter, but we also communicate with the nurses, of course, because we want that collaboration, a continued collaboration with them on this.
Yeah.
And our aim is we're not policing people. The aim is to help. Yeah.
And inform.
And inform. Yes, help and inform. Yeah. And so this year, I want to bring in this new aspect that we have implemented in the project. So this year we started collecting swab samples from different surfaces as well in many areas in the nursery. So we put an honest student on this project who has indicated that they want to stay for their masters. Yay! For me.
Yay!
So these yes. So these surfaces can range from anything from a wheelbarrow wheel to the footwear of nursery workers. So we're really trying to find out, how does this organism find its way into a nursery, especially if the nursery over the years has been, but accredited as clean, like whatever material that they send comes back as clean. There's no detection of this organism. So I'm not sure whether it's the detection methods that are not working properly, or that, there are certain areas that are not being looked at. This is why, nurseries will sometimes have an outbreak of Phytophthora root rot in their nurseries. So, yeah.
So, wow, Khumbuzile, this is such interesting research that you're working on. So is this the same research that you presented in Italy?
Oh, no. So in Italy, I presented, as I mentioned earlier, I presented the work that I did in my PhD, and that's completely different. So I worked...
Oh, okay.
So
different.
So in my PhD, I worked on bacterial cancer, on stone fruits, but specifically plum trees. So the plum that oozes out of the stone fruits, like your peach tree or apricot tree, if you have that in your garden, that plum. So it's not always the case that it is the organism that I was working on that causes that, but one of the characteristic symptoms of that, of the disease that I was working on in my PhD, is that oozing out of the tree, and then you will see a crack in the stem or in the branches, a crack. So so those are what we call cankers. So it's caused by one of the organisms we've realized now as the project progressed and as other researchers found, is that there's more than one organism responsible for causing the particular disease symptoms. So it's the one of the organisms that I was working on, the Pseudomonas syringae. But I also discovered that another Pseudomonas species, Pseudomonas syringiflava, also occurs in those tissues, the symptomatic tissues or disease tissues. Anyway. So I worked on that particular disease in my PhD. So that was the work that I presented at the conference.
Oh, wow. That's so interesting. Oh, all right. So then now, so you did the peaches PhD and then now you're doing citrus.
I did plums. Yes, I did plums PhD.
Plums, sorry.
Not part of the same. They're also fruit.
I always confuse them, actually. Like, I always confuse those two. Okay, yeah. Okay, plums, my bad.
Plums, yes. Plums PhD, and then postdoc, I started working on citrus.
On citrus. Okay, fantastic. Yeah? Yeah. So, speaking of your PhD, you were awarded. You did your PhD during the pandemic, and you got your doctorate in your PhD. So, also, I need to come at you correct. Excuse me, I'm out here calling you Khumbuzile, like you didn't suffer through. Yeah, I need to put some respect on your name.
Listen, the title, right? The title. insert there.
Yeah, I need to put comma PhD doctor. No. I need to come at you.
It's
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah. So speaking of that, though, that's also part of the reason I wanted to go at is that when people think you're doing a PhD, they think, oh my goodness, you are the smartest, most invincible person. Wow, you are this brainiac. But meanwhile, I mean, I know this because I'm in that part of my PhD where it's like, the middle where it's no longer exciting, but it's that middle, like, am I coming or am I going? So you who has finished your PhD, I'm asking you, you know where I'm at now, like just mentally, it takes such a mental toll on you. And I think that's a conversation which personally I feel like I don't know, man. I wish somebody told me. I wish people tell you like a PhD is hard, but I just wish the conversations were a little bit more like, Anne, are you sure this is what you want to do? Just like, do you understand what you're going to get into? So I wanted to ask you, how was your journey for you on that, the mental aspects, the emotional aspect? I'm saying that because, So how was your journey for you? Would you care to share? So be it the beginning, the middle, and even after, because apparently after it also comes with its own stuff, which...
I'm kidding.
so please, would you care to share on that?
The mental fitness that you need for this journey. So, I will just sum up. Like, I struggled with depression and anxiety throughout my PhD studies, and the thing that the one thing that often pulled me through was my spirituality. Even when exercise wasn't working anymore, going for a run but couldn't work, or even sleeping it off because, I would be like, okay, maybe you need to sleep. Maybe, you're sleep deprived. All you need is to just maybe take a nap or sleep longer hours than you are now used to sleeping. Prayer really got me through. God got me through this whole journey. But the caveat here is that I do strongly recommend that people who can seek professional help, please do. And if you can afford it, go for it. It is worth consulting a psychologist or a therapist. Or don't do it on your own. Surrounding yourself with people who love you and who care about your well-being is also one of the ways in which you can manage your anxiety. Because, for me, I was completing my PhD when the pandemic hit. And that's when I realized the importance of a support structure. I couldn't go home to see my parents for a long time. And, like I said, I was completing my PhD, so I was mostly depressed. And I couldn't finish the remaining chapters of my PhD for months on end. And, I kept talking to my supervisor who was on my case. She understood because we've never been in a pandemic and it was a new thing for all of us. So she really understood. And I must say, I call her my mentor now. I have a great mentor. She really took care of me in all aspects. She believed in me. So, but the pandemic hit me hard. The depression that I fell into, it wasn't until I was able to leave Pretoria and go home that I started to feel hope and joy again. And that's when I was able to finish my PhD. It really was a challenging experience. That's why I'm saying the mental fitness that you really need while you're embarking on a PhD. And your support structure, I will emphasize this. Your support structure is very important on this journey. Because you need people who will remind you of not only what you're good at or what you have achieved, but who you are. Because that's the most important part is outside of all of these things, these accomplishments that we have, you're still a good person. You're still, there's joy to be around. You meet people who will remind you. Yeah. And like you spoke, I think you said even post PhD. So my experience, again, I slipped back into depression after defending my PhD. I mean, after culminating this what felt like an insurmountable mountain or tree.
Yeah.
You know, I was still on a high and elated, and the world was just open and mine for the taking. And then I fell back into depression because I couldn't start with my first doctoral project immediately due to lack of funding, which meant going back home to pay the rent. And it took months for me to get back to Pretoria because obviously so I could work things out in terms of funding and things like that. I already had a postdoc position, but it was just funding to be able to pay for my rent and things like that. So during that time, I actually felt like a failure because here I am, graduated with a PhD, and all I had to show for it was a certificate or a degree. So that was rock bottom for me. That felt like rock bottom for me. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but it really felt like rock bottom because I was just thinking, you know, when you're walking around, though no one in my neighborhood quite knew that I was doing a PhD. My mom was the one that was doing it. So here you are finished, and now you're back in the neighborhood. Yeah, that's like everyone else, you know. So I wouldn't wish that experience.
No, you know, I just got goosebumps with your story because, I mean, many of us who are in it can relate to that. And I wanted to first say thank you for being so vulnerable in your story and for sharing that because it's exactly what you say, that here you are, people think you are amazing, Dr. Khumbuzile. Here you are, you have finished it, you have defended, you have fought through the pandemic, you know, but now it's like, now what? Like, I can't, you know, I thought I was going somewhere after this, and then life is like, no, actually. And I love what you said about speaking to, if your institution allows for academic support in terms of like seeing a psychologist and that. Also, I fully recommend that because I think sometimes with our work, because it's very isolating, we don't work in groups, although we collaborate, sure, but it's like you and your thesis. Nobody else writes it. It's not going to be the same as your friend. And you sometimes go into like island mode, and then you take yourself into this deep dark pit, and you know, although you have that support system, you sometimes you just, I don't know, man, like it just takes you away. So I love that you speak about these real truths that many people go through, and that's what I'm saying. I wish we were more honest about it. We are more like, okay, yes, you know, you're going to do a PhD. Yes, there's going to be funding issues, and funding can lead to depression because, I mean, let's be real. Money is important. Like, we always make it seem like it should just be about the science and the passion. No,
but for the work to be done, you need research funding.
Exactly.
I mean, where does the money come from? How do you pay for your reagents? How do you pay for, you know, the equipment that you want to use?
Exactly. And just and you just being a person, how do you pay for your own food? You don't,
you know, your
toiletries. Like, come on, guys. So that can all lead to all of that stuff. And I love that you said that. So you are saying that you are, you know, you obviously going to be supervising, you've got an honest students, and you said that you love teaching and mentoring. So given the journey that you've gone through now, right? And everything that you've shared, do you think all of these things that you've gone through are going to shape the type of supervisor or academic that you intend to be for the future, you know, generation who you're going to mentor or lead or teach?
Most definitely. I mean, yes, mine hasn't been an easy journey. It's been challenging. And I'm sure, like you've mentioned, my story is not as unique. But, I believe having struggled and faced some of these soul crushing or what seems like soul crushing challenges at the time, they will shape how I mentor and how I teach. And they have done that. I do my best to advocate for my students. I stick up for them. And if I'm able to, because not all issues I'm able to resolve, but I try to resolve the issues that I believe they shouldn't have to deal with. Right. I empathize with them, especially on the journey. Some of the journeys are not easy. And actually, I would say all of the journeys that postgraduates are not easy. So I do empathize with the students, and I prioritize their well-being. I make that a thing to prioritize their overall well-being, because there's the person, and then there's the work that this person has to do, but you always have to care about the person. So yeah, though I still require them to do their utmost best, but I
of course.
want to make it a point where that they feel comfortable to come and talk to me about their overall well-being. Let's not just talk about the project. Yes, the project is important because we are answerable to our funders. But at the end of the day, the person is also important. Not equally important, but it's more important actually. So yeah, I do care about their well-being. So
Wow.
seeing my students succeed and seeing them all right, that is important to me.
No, man, this is so great.
Yeah.
And I love that you are putting the human element in the supervision, and being that person, like you said, how you're going to advocate for your students as well, which is so important. So as we wrap up our conversation, it was a really lovely conversation. I just wanted to ask you some golden nuggets that you would love to leave us with, right? For somebody who is listening and is inspired by your journey, be it just in life or your scientific journey. What are some of the golden nuggets that you can leave them on the things that you've learned so far?
Ooh, golden nuggets, my goodness. Where do I begin? So in terms of embarking on postgraduate studies, and more specifically enrolling for a doctoral program, my thing would be that your motivation to embark on this journey must be stronger than your urge to quit, because you will be tested. Oh, and your motivation, and the title, honestly speaking, is not a good enough motivation. It sounds great. Listen, it sounds great to be called doctor, but at the end of the day, when the going gets tough, you need a compelling reason. You need a compelling why. And as I mentioned before, surround yourself with a good support system, like-minded people who will rally behind your vision and your goals. And this could either be a partner, family, friends, or even mentors. So people around you are the ones that will remind you of your compelling why when you feel like quitting. I've discovered a lot through this PhD. It has been a transformative journey. You get to learn a lot about yourself, about your personal strengths and weaknesses. So, I would definitely say embark on this journey as well to discover who you are. But you can also embark on other journeys. It doesn't necessarily have to be a PhD. And the skills that you acquire in your postgraduate studies are transferable to other disciplines as well. The scientific approach that we use cuts across different industries, entrepreneurship and business, you name it. So I would recommend people, embarking on this postgraduate journey. And those who are interested in STEM, get involved in science programs, participate in science expos, ask questions, even the silliest question or the one that you think is silly, ask it. Don't be afraid to reach out to your local scientists. to ask if we could visit their labs over the school holidays. So one of the things that I loved the most was hosting learners, be it in grade 8, grade 9, grade 12. They would, inquire if they could come and visit us over the holidays, and I would work with them on a different project, like a science project, just to show them what we do in the lab. So do that, get involved in that. And the great thing about, living in the, current times is that most of the scientists or most of the people that you think as your role model are now on social media, so you can engage with them on this platform. So I would really say that reach out to them and ask if you could visit their labs, or even ask them questions that you are interested in finding out more about what they do and how did they end up where they are. And if you know someone in your neighborhood who's doing a degree in related fields, reach out to that person as well and ask them, what it took for them to be where they are. What subjects did they take in school, and they can share those tips with you. And the last thing that I will close off with is that teaching administrators really need to invite researchers to their schools' career days or career fairs. Some of us love it.
Yes.
So
yeah,
they will get, if you can see someone who looks like you being where you want to be, I believe that it feels tangible, possible for you. So you do all that you can to get to where that person wants, because you can see yourself in that person. So, yeah, that is my 2 cents worth of.
That is. That was like a couple of grands worth. It wasn't a cents. It was very important. And, you've touched on so many important things. And I hope somebody, after listening to this episode, is inspired and is motivated by your story. So thank you so much for coming on and chatting with me today.
Thank you for having me. And it's been a wonderful conversation. I love talking. So yes, you gave me a platform to do that.
Girl, anytime you want to talk.
I might just take you up on that. No, but thank you for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure to be on your show.
No, it was my pleasure. I wish you all of the best in your next semester of teaching and just in everything that you do.
Thank you so much.
And to everybody else,
before you wrap up, I
thank you.
The best as well. Your PhD, just hang in there. Hang in there. You'll be okay. Yes.
Oh, we are. We are hanging.
Yes.
We are hanging. But
yes,
we aren't. Like what you said, I like what you said, something here about how the motivation to do a PhD has to be higher than it. You have to have a higher motivation, than the urge to quit. Yeah, because listen, but that's another side conversation.
I know where that you came from. Don't worry, I've been there.
Oh my goodness. To everybody else who's tuned in, thank you so much for tuning into another episode of the Root of the Science podcast with your girl Anne with an E. Until next time, goodbye.